June 5th, 1944. Just after 4 a.m. Southwick House, Hampshire, England. Rain needles the windows like thrown gravel. Inside the dim operations room, cigarette smoke hangs low, heavy, unmoving, trapped beneath the weight of silence. Maps cover the walls, arrows, beach names written in grease pencil. Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, Sword. 1,000 decisions already made, and yet everything now rests on one last thing no one here can control. Weather. You can almost feel it. The damp chill clinging to wool uniforms, the sour smell of stale coffee, the ache behind sleepless eyes. Men stand with arms folded, hands jammed into pockets, staring at a single chart, as if willing it to change. Outside, the English Channel is a black, heaving mass. Whitecaps, wind, low cloud ceilings that choke visibility, conditions that can kill an invasion before the first boot touches sand. At the head of the room stands General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. He hasn't slept much. His face is tight, jaw set, eyes rimmed red. This is not a battlefield moment, no gunfire, no explosions, but the pressure here is just as lethal. Because in front of him is a choice that will decide the fate of Europe. Across the table, Group Captain James Stagg, the chief meteorologist, clears his throat. He is not a dramatic man. He does not raise his voice. But every word he speaks now carries the weight of thousands of lives. The storm is breaking, Stagg says carefully, not confidently, carefully. There may be a temporary improvement. Temporary. That word hangs in the air like a live grenade. The Allied invasion, Operation Overlord, was supposed to go on June 5th. It already didn't. The weather had forced a delay, scattering landing craft, grounding aircraft, fraying nerves. And now the window is closing fast. Tides, moonlight, German patrol cycles. Everything is aligned to a narrow band of days. Miss it, and the invasion must be postponed weeks, maybe longer. And postponement isn't neutral. It's dangerous. The Germans are alert. Rommel is reinforcing the Atlantic Wall. Every extra day risks exposure. One leak, one intercepted signal, one chance for Hitler's forces to mass armor where it will hurt the most. Eisenhower listens. He doesn't interrupt. Around him are the men who planned this monster. General Bernard Montgomery, Admiral Bertram Ramsay, Air Chief Marshal Trafford Lee Mallory. Each of them knows what bad weather means for their domain. Rough seas will drown infantry before they reach shore. Low clouds will scatter paratroopers into the dark. High winds will wreck gliders. If the weather forecast is wrong, even slightly, the invasion could collapse in chaos. And yet, if they wait, the next acceptable window may not come. Not in time, not before the Germans adapt. Stagg continues. The improvement won't last long, perhaps 36 hours. Then another front moves in. Worse than this one. You can almost hear the math being done in Eisenhower's head. 36 hours. Enough to launch? Enough to land? Enough to build a foothold before the skies close again? This is the moment Allied command never wanted. Not a bold charge. Not a decisive strike. A gamble. Calculated, but still a gamble. Eisenhower turns away from the map. For a brief second, he looks older than his years. He knows that whatever he decides, men will die. If he goes, and the weather turns, history will blame him. If he waits, and the opportunity is lost, history will blame him. He takes a breath. And then he asks the question that will change everything. Are you confident? Stagg hesitates, just for a heartbeat. Just the weight of one word. The room is still. Every eye moves to James Stagg. The hesitation is almost imperceptible, but in a room trained to read danger, it might as well be shouted. Eisenhower doesn't rush him. He waits. He understands uncertainty. He lives in it now. What he needs isn't certainty. It's whether the risk is survivable. Stagg finally nods. As confident as a meteorologist can be, sir. Not certain. Not sure. Confident. For a moment, no one speaks. You can hear the rain again, tapping insistently against the glass, as if reminding them what happens if this goes wrong. Air Chief Marshal Lee Mallory breaks the silence. He leans forward, voice tight. His concern is specific and terrifying. The airborne drops. Thousands of paratroopers are scheduled to jump behind enemy lines hours before dawn. If cloud cover is too low, if winds are too strong, they won't land where they're supposed to. They'll scatter. Units will be isolated. Men will drown in flooded fields or be hunted down piecemeal. I believe casualties could be catastrophic, Lee Mallory says. Perhaps unacceptable. That word lands hard. Across the table, Montgomery stiffens. He has already promised results. He believes in momentum. Delay breeds doubt. Doubt kills initiative. The Germans are strongest when they're allowed to prepare. Strike now, while they're confused. While Rommel is away from his command, visiting his wife in Germany, convinced the invasion won't come in this weather. The debate sharpens. Navy officers worry about landing craft broaching in heavy seas. Army planners argue that beach obstacles are exposed only at low tide, delay too long, and engineers won't be able to clear them under fire. Every argument is valid, every concern lethal. And still, the clock moves. Outside Southwick House, more than 150,000 Allied troops are already embarked. They are seasick, cramped, loaded down with gear. Some have been aboard ships for days. Orders have been given, rescinded, then given again. Morale teeters on the edge of exhaustion. A delay now isn't just logistical, it's psychological. Eisenhower rubs his eyes. He knows these men. He's visited their camps. He's looked them in the face. He's shaken hands with paratroopers who will be jumping into darkness within hours. If he says yes. If he says no, they'll wait. And waiting might be worse. He steps away from the table toward the window. The rain has eased slightly. The wind has shifted. Not enough to promise safety, just enough to tempt fate. This is the cruel truth of command. There is no correct answer. Only responsibility. Eisenhower turns back. He asks for a moment alone. The room empties quietly, chairs scraping softly against the floor. Outside, footsteps echo down the corridor. Eisenhower remains. He stares at the invasion map, the culmination of years of planning, deception operations, logistics beyond imagination, the largest amphibious assault in human history, balanced on a fragile weather report. He reaches into his pocket. There's a folded note already written. Few people know it exists. A contingency. A private admission of failure, prepared in advance. If any blame or fault attaches to the attempt, it is mine alone. He hasn't signed it. Not yet. Minutes pass. Maybe longer. Finally, the door opens. The commanders return, faces drawn, bracing for a decision that will ripple across continents. Eisenhower looks at them. His voice is calm. Okay, let's go. No flourish, no speech, just 4 words. And with that, the greatest calculated risk of the war is set in motion. Ships turning toward France, engines roaring to life, men unknowingly stepping onto the path of history. But the weather hasn't finished deciding. Not yet. Men into the dark. June 6th, 1944. 0016 hours. over the English Channel. The engines of the C-47s thrum like distant thunder, a steady mechanical heartbeat cutting through the night. Inside the aircraft, red lights glow faintly over rows of paratroopers packed shoulder to shoulder, knees pressed against canvas packs, fingers wrapped tight around rifle stocks and static lines. The air is cold, damp. It smells of oil, sweat, and fear. No one is talking now. These men were briefed hours ago, told where they would land, what bridges to seize, which roads must be held at all costs. But as the planes shudder and dip, they know the truth every airborne soldier knows. Plans don't survive the jump. You can almost feel the vibration through the fuselage, rattling teeth, tightening stomachs. Somewhere below, the black water of the Channel rushes past, invisible. Ahead lies France, occupied, waiting. Lieutenant Richard Winters stands near the door of one aircraft in the 101st Airborne. His face is calm, unreadable, but his jaw is set hard. He checks his men one last time, hands slapping shoulders, eyes meeting eyes. No speeches. They don't need them. The green light is still off. Outside, the weather begins to show its teeth. Cloud layers thicken unexpectedly. Pilots struggle to maintain formation. Navigation lights blink in and out, then vanish altogether as crews try to avoid drawing German attention. Flak bursts bloom suddenly, dark puffs tearing holes in the sky. Not heavy yet, but close enough. The jump zones are somewhere below. Or maybe not. A burst of wind slams the aircraft sideways. Another follows. Paratroopers sway on their feet, boots scraping the metal floor. A crew chief swears under his breath. Then the red light switches to green. Go! 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 Men hurl themselves into nothing. Bodies vanish through the open door, swallowed by wind and darkness. Static lines snap tight. Chutes blossom, or don't. Some men spin violently. Others drift far off course, carried by gusts no one predicted. Below them, Normandy is not the open farmland of the maps. It's flooded fields, Rommel's defensive trick, hedgerows, orchards, villages crouched in shadow. Some paratroopers hit water and never resurface. Others land alone, miles from where they're supposed to be, weapons scattered, units shredded. Within minutes, the airborne plan is in tatters. But something else happens too. Small groups form in the dark. Strangers find each other by whispered passwords, by unit patches barely visible in moonlight. A lieutenant from the 82nd takes command of men he's never met. A sergeant gathers a handful of lost paratroopers and points them toward the sound of gunfire. The Germans are confused. Reports flood their lines. Landings everywhere, attacks from all directions. They can't tell what's real and what's diversion. Exactly what Allied planners hoped for, but achieved through chaos, not precision. Back in England, Eisenhower hasn't gone to bed. He listens to fragmentary reports, scattered drops, heavy winds, missed objectives. This is the nightmare scenario Lee Mallory warned about. And yet, bridges are being contested. Road junctions are blocked. German movements are slowing, not accelerating. The risk is bleeding, but it isn't breaking. As the last paratroopers descend, dawn begins to creep toward the horizon. Gray light seeps into the sky. On the far side of the Channel, another arm of the invasion is moving, silent and unstoppable. Thousands of ships, thousands of guns, and on the beaches of Normandy, men are about to discover whether Eisenhower's gamble bought them a foothold or a grave. The longest morning, June 6, 1944, 6:31 hours. Omaha Beach, Normandy. The first ramp drops and hell erupts. Machine gun fire scythes across the surf, ripping into men before their boots touch sand. Water explodes into white geysers as bullets hammer the shallows. Shouts are swallowed by the roar of engines and artillery. Some soldiers freeze. Others surge forward. Many never move again. You can almost feel the weight. Packs dragging men under, rifles slick with seawater. The panic as waves knock bodies into one another. The tide is rising. The beach is narrower than planned. German positions loom above, intact, firing with terrifying precision. This was not how it was supposed to go. Offshore, naval guns thunder, but smoke and low cloud blur observation. Some shells fall short, others overshoot. The bunkers remain alive. And the men landing here, 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions, are paying for every yard in blood. Eisenhower's weather window is holding barely. Seas are rough, tossing landing craft off course. Tanks meant to provide early fire support founder and sink before reaching shore. Engineers tasked with clearing obstacles are cut down in the open, explosives detonating prematurely, tearing holes in men instead of steel. For a terrifying stretch of time, Omaha teeters on the edge of failure. Reports reach Allied command ships, pinned down. Heavy casualties, unable to advance. There are moments, brief, unspoken, when commanders consider the unthinkable. Evacuation, withdrawal, a partial defeat that could unravel the entire invasion. But on the beach, something stubborn takes hold. Small groups begin to move. Not units, not formations, individuals. A lieutenant spots a gap in the wire. A sergeant leads 5 men up a draw under covering fire. Naval destroyers, seeing the crisis, break orders and push dangerously close to shore, firing point-blank into German positions. It's improvised, messy, desperate. It works. By mid-morning, American soldiers are clawing their way up the bluffs, flanking bunkers from the rear. German defenders, cut off and shocked by the audacity, begin to fall back or surrender. The beach is still lethal, but it is no longer a killing field without exit. Elsewhere, the gamble is paying off faster. At Utah Beach, landings drift a mile off course, but into lighter defenses. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt, Jr. famously decides to push inland from where they are. "We'll start the war from right here," he says. Casualties are light. Momentum builds. British and Canadian forces push ashore at Gold, Juno, and Sword, fighting hard but advancing. Airborne troops, scattered but relentless, are disrupting German counterattacks before they can form. The weather, against all odds, holds. Cloud ceilings lift just enough for air support. Seas remain rough but passable. The temporary break Stagg predicted is real. By afternoon, the unthinkable has become undeniable. The Allies are ashore. Back in England, Eisenhower receives confirmation. Beachheads secured. Not tidy, not complete, but real. Men are pouring into France faster than the Germans can stop them. The risk, so fragile, so easily broken, has crossed the point of no return. But victory is not declared. Not yet. Because Hitler's armored reserves are still intact. And when they move, the true test of Eisenhower's decision will begin. Type Continue to generate the next section. Continue Section 5. The silence before the counterstroke. June 6, 1944. Evening. German High Command, Western Front. For hours, confusion reigns. Telephones ring unanswered. Messengers arrive with contradictory reports. Landings here, airborne troops there, naval bombardments all along the coast. Some insist Normandy is a diversion. Others swear this is the real blow. No one agrees on the scale. And at the center of it all, silence. Adolf Hitler is asleep. Protocol forbids waking him without certainty. His generals hesitate. The armored reserves, The panzer divisions capable of smashing the beachheads back into the sea cannot move without his authorization. Time bleeds away in minutes, then hours. This delay is not accidental. It is the unseen payoff of Eisenhower's risk. The weather that almost canceled the invasion also convinces German commanders the Allies would never attempt a crossing now. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the architect of coastal defenses, is not even in France. He left days earlier, believing the storm made invasion impossible. By the time Hitler is finally briefed, the window is closing. Panzers begin to roll, but not in force, not with coordination. Allied aircraft, now flying freely under improving skies, harass columns, destroy bridges, choke roads with wreckage. Air superiority, the other half of the gamble, tightens its grip. On the beaches, engineers work through the night. Mulberry harbors are assembled piece by piece. Supply dumps grow. Wounded are evacuated. More men land. Then more and more. The fragile foothold hardens. Eisenhower finally allows himself a moment of quiet. Not relief. Not pride. Something closer to exhaustion. The note in his pocket remains unsigned. For now, he knows the truth. The invasion succeeded not because everything went right, but because enough things went less wrong than expected. A thinner margin than history often admits. The calculated risk has paid off, but only just. And in the weeks ahead, Normandy will become a grinding, brutal proving ground where that decision is tested daily in hedgerows and villages, in blood and mud. But on this night, June 6, 1944, one fact stands unshaken. Allied command dared to move when caution screamed to wait. They trusted a sliver of weather, a fragile forecast, and the resolve of men stepping into darkness. And Europe will never be the same.